Hello, guys, and we are live. How are we this evening?
I am doing well. Good to be back.
Good.
Good as always.
Excellent. Well, I'm being joined here by Spence from Aliens and Stuff. You go find them on the internet. They're everywhere. Excellent channel. Go subscribe. And Stormy, resident American, who's going to tell us about a TV show that me and Spencer have never heard of.
I'm the token American.
Resident American. You're the only one we allow.
I
Stormy.
feel
And we love
especially
you very
privileged
much.
to be the only one allowed in the country. Thank you very much.
So this evening, I thought we would get together and we would have a little bit of a chinwag about the streaming services that we're getting at the moment and how there's a lot of stories going around at the moment that streaming is going to kill cinema. And I personally love going to the cinema. I think it's awesome. So I don't want to see the death of cinema. But obviously, thanks to COVID, they're having a bit of a problem anyway. So I just thought we'd have a little bit of a chat on what do we think maybe cinema's going to be like in 10 years or where we're going to be in 10 years' time. So shall we start off with the Black Widow lawsuit? Because I think that's an easy one to get started on. Anybody got an opinion on it before I just roughly give a rundown of what actually happened?
Well, I way back in the day, I used to work in film, and I think Scarlett Johansson really got screwed, because it's these contracts. If you read through other stars' contracts or what's reported on them that was in the Marvel Cinema Universe, hers was just really, everyone else got their day in the sun. Everyone else got their theatrical release, and their income was based on theatrical numbers. Well, if they, kneecap her and just started on a streaming service during a pandemic, well, she's losing out tens of millions of dollars.
That is the thing, isn't it? With the cut of the cinema, that contract worked so well for people like Robert Downey Jr. That contract was, he had a similar contract for like Iron Man, where he got a cut of the back end rather than a large fee to begin with. They didn't know how successful it was going to be. And his children's children are not going to have to work off the back of Iron Man.
His Iron
Great. How about you, Spence?
Will be.
Obviously it's sort of contract stipulations, isn't it? And I come across this quite a lot in my day job, sort of going through contract agreements and trying to find where wording is sort of designed a certain way. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people online saying, she, sort of millionaire actor complaining about this. But you've got to look at it and think, well, they kind of set the bar there, didn't they? And then through a complete technicality, it's like Storm was saying, it's going to scrape a massive amount of income off. And I can't help but feel bad. And it's kind of like you said in the episode, Jamie, where you said, this was meant to be, sort of your time to shine. This is your gift for having stuck with us for all of these years. And then it just sort of left a bit of a bad taste in the mouth at the end there, I think.
Most definitely, yeah.
One thing for me was, at the beginning of all of this, the very first, I think, Iron Man 2 was Johansson's first appearance. She was promised, we're going to do, your own, origin story, your own Black Widow story. How long ago was Iron Man 2? And she's been promised this, Thor got his, and it's all these other characters were shaping up with spinoffs and whatnot. And, finally, at the very end, she's granted her wish, and they screw her. They release her her film that she worked very hard on, worked more than a decade for, and they waited till right in the middle of a pandemic, and they cut her on the box office receipts by also streaming on Disney Plus.
That was the big thing, wasn't it? It didn't actually have a bad first week, but it had the biggest second week drop off of any Marvel film released so far. And have you seen some of the videos about Scarlett Johansson's physical preparation for all of these movies?
Oh my God!
They put her through the ringer.
Hell, absolute hell.
they're just talking about, you know, the millions of dollars, whatever she should have earned. She earned it.
Yeah.
You know, and she was one of the most popular characters. Disney have earned an absolute fortune off her, and the least they could have done. But I mean, about 3 months before the film released, the film was finally released, because, you know, it's putting off and putting it off. Obviously, her lawyers and her people realised this was a possibility. So they said, well, we want to renegotiate the contract? And Disney went, no, not doing it.
That's where everything went to.
They wouldn't even give her like a compensation fee or anything.
Yeah,
they
like a
just went,
gesture
no,
of goodwill. Yeah.
They could have done that.
And Villeneuve's Dune, you know, was going to be released online, and he threw an absolute fit. He said, nope, it goes to the theater first, and we're waiting on it for the theater. Top Gun Maverick, that was going to be released. They said no, because remember, it was supposed to be out right when I think it was supposed to be, was it a Christmas film or a summer film? I think it was going to be a summer film originally in 2020.
I think it's a year late.
Yeah, and then but they canceled that, and they got pushed off and pushed off and pushed off, because it's one of those films that's made for the cinema, you know, for a theater, large screen, big loudspeakers, popcorn.
Yeah,
but so it's not like the. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so I'm saying, like, most of these films are the summer blockbusters, the big action movies. They're always built. They're better at the cinema, aren't they? Yeah. So why are we seeing more and more big action blockbuster movies not going to cinema and going straight to Netflix? Amazon Prime have started doing it now, and obviously Disney are going to be doing it. I mean, a few examples: Old Guard with Charlize Theron last year, huge hit for Netflix. Sorry, it absolutely smashed it because everyone was in the house. So I mean, they signed up a sequel almost immediately. Charlize Theron is at the top of her game. You know, she's not like a has-been on her way down. You know, she's not like, I don't know. For some reason, all I can think of is Drew Barrymore, but that seems really mean to me. But you know, she's not a 20 years ago actress. She's, you know, she can pick and choose her roles. And there's examples of Bright with Will Smith. That was a big budget movie. It was a huge budget film, straight to Netflix. And that is a film that I would have loved to have seen in the cinema, you know. But
Tomorrow War is another title that comes in. You know, I thought, you know, I first saw it, I was like, okay, this is just what's on streaming today. Let's go watch it. Holy crap, was that a good movie? Loved it. And I think before, you know, within 3 days, they approved a sequel. You know, and the director was previously an animated filmmaker. And he's like, well, what do we do next? I mean, it was such a good story. But yeah, straight to, you know, and for me, I don't think it's, this is my bigotry. I don't think it's going to be a great movie if it hadn't hit the theaters first. And apparently there's a lot of good stuff coming straight to streaming. Because, you know, back in the day, it was, well, it's straight to video. So, you know, how good could it be? But now that's no longer true. Just because it's straight to video or streaming doesn't have anything to do with the quality.
Yeah, I think that was the point I was going to make, really.
Yeah, I stole your thunder. I'm so sorry. I'm American. What can I do?
Yeah, you've been doing that to the British for 200 years, so don't worry about it. But I was going to say, like, I think the example that we've got, or the comparison we've got, Spence, you're too young for this. You won't remember this, mate. But me and Stormy will. Is when videos became popular and the video shop became popular. And they said that was the death of cinema. And to be honest, it nearly was. And now in the UK, a lot of cinemas shut. Blockbusters was, you know, that was Friday night. You went to Blockbusters and got your popcorn and your drinks and your, you know. Is there a similarity between that and what we're seeing now? But worse, because the quality is better. Spence, you haven't said anything for 2-3 minutes. Go.
So, I mean, it's hard, isn't it? Because we very much live in a culture of convenience now, don't we? You know, everybody wants there's an element of instant gratification about anything, and I mean, I'm guilty of it. Everyone's guilty of it. You know, we expect it now. You know, nowadays, and I think that, as particularly with everything being closed over COVID, I think people have almost sort of forgotten the magic of the cinema. Though, do you know what I mean? So, yeah. I've watched a ton of I've been watching a ton of movies on Netflix, Prime, whatever, you know, over the last 18 months, and really sort of got into my cubby hole with it. And yeah, I like watching movies at home, and I like that, you know, if I want to see something new, I don't necessarily have to go out. But a couple of weeks ago, first time I've been to the cinema since the pandemic, but I went to see the new, and it's not sidetrack, but I went to see the new Candyman film because I'm a big horror buff. And I was so conscious when I was in there, because I hadn't been for so long, the sound of raindrops on like a glass ceiling, you know, and you can really pick the sound design out, and it creates an atmosphere that sort of sucks you in. And obviously you've got the lowered light levels, the big silver screen, you know. I think there's something magical about going to the cinema, and I think a lot of people, through the convenience of sort of, you know, direct to box releases, have kind of forgotten that, you know. Or is that just me?
No, I think you're right. I tell you, the example I had was during the lockdown. The cinema was still open for a bit, and we were still allowed to go in the in-between, but obviously nobody was releasing films, and you had to sit 2 seats apart, and you know, I had one-way system. It was a bit of a nightmare. But we've got a beautiful cinema by us, and it's one of the Odeon Lux cinemas. So they've got rid of all the old crappy seats, you know, like that you're that close to the next person in front of you, and there are all these recliner seats. You just go, yeah. So they got loads of feet room, and then it's amazing. So I went to see Jurassic Park, the original, and it still stands up. You're still at the cinema going, I've watched this film how many times on the TV, and it doesn't wow you. I'm watching it in the cinema now, and I'm like, God damn, this is a good film. You know, it's 20 years old, and it still looks amazing. It still looks absolutely beautiful.
Especially when like T-Rex crushes the Ford Explorer and just screams, you know, right into the camera, into the audience.
Even just the first time you see like the Diplodocus, you know, the long neck ones, when they all go, and then it pans around, and they're all just, even that, you're just like, that's pretty good. It just looked incredible. It's not the same effect at TV. I don't care how big your telly is. It's not the same. I just worry that we're going to have a whole generation of people that don't appreciate that it isn't the same. That I can pause it and go for a wee. Well, yeah, you can, but is that really? I can watch the football on the TV. I still quite like going to Old Trafford. It's, you know,
well, it's kind of like, just because we have the capability to watch these things on a phone screen, does that mean that we should? I know that David Lynch was very vocal recently about how he doesn't want anybody watching his movies on mobile phones, you know, because it ruins the experience. And it's like you were saying, Storm, about the new Dune release, you know, and how hard they fought to make sure that went out in cinemas, because that's how it's designed to be experienced. And I guess, in a way you could look at it and think, you know, if you are streaming stuff to your home, you know, even if you've got a nice TV, are you really getting the most out of that media, you know?
Well, it's like, I don't think movie theaters are going to go away. I don't think they're going to be like Blockbuster, because, you know, you guys are, you know, you still have stage plays. I'm sure somewhere in London, someone's doing Macbeth right now. And how old is that shit? I'm just saying, you know, we still go to opera. We still go to the symphony. We still go to, we actually.
How old is that shit? That's Shakespeare.
Like I said,
bloody Americans.
Stephen King. I'm sorry. I do love you some Macbeth. Send all the hate mail to Spencer. He loves getting hate mail. No, but I don't think the theater experience is going to go away, because it's just something you can't get at home. You can't get a live stage play like something like Macbeth at home, or opera, or a musical. It just, you can see it on TV, but you know, if it's like, you know, if you go see, you know, the Bolshoi ballet in person, it's a completely different experience than seeing it on TV, you know. And I don't think it's going to go away. I think you're going to see, there will be movies, and we've already seen this trend. There'll be movies made for the cinematic experience, and then there'll be stuff made for TV screens, you know, or video screens. Like, and we've been doing that for what, 60, 70 years with soap operas and just TV shows. You know, it's made for that small medium, and they're still impactful.
You say that though, a lot of theatres have closed. In the UK, a lot of theatres are now Wetherspoon pubs. You know, so unfortunately, and the ones that are open, a lot of them rely on quite a lot of income from the government. You know, they get we've got the Arts Council.
Right.
You know, they've really struggled through the pandemic, and a lot haven't properly reopened yet. You know, obviously we've got the West End, which does well, and then most towns have like 1 or 2 theatres, but they rely on other income as well. They rely on being, you know, having like business stuff in the week, and
right.
you know, being
conferences,
conferences, and
yeah, that sort of thing. Cinemas can't do that.
Well, I mean,
and
here in America,
cinemas get government help if they're struggling.
In America, you know, actual theaters, cinemas, they can't stay open on just ticket sales. It's most of their money, a huge portion of their money, is made on concessions, popcorn, snacks, drinks. That's where most of the money comes from. The movie is just to get you to the building, to get you to buy popcorn, you know. And we have like a half hour of ads to buy the popcorn and drinks before the movie starts, literally.
Let's go.
I don't know how to.
Let's go.
Little dancing cupcakes and bags of popcorn. Yeah, it's. But
Why not have a Coke?
Have a Coke and a smile.
Yeah, and nachos that cost £15. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
Are these gold nachos? Are they going to do a little dance for me? How do these cost this much money?
But I think you know, in the future, you know, I still think movies are always going to be more popular than stage plays or musicals or the ballet or the opera, whatever. But it's still going to be, I think, a specialty entertainment in the future. And I think the pandemic has just accelerated it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we saw in the UK, we've already seen one large cinema chain struggle. Cineworld over in the UK nearly went under. They closed. The one in my town is shut. The big ones managed to stay open, but I think they went down to about 30 cinemas where they had 100 and something.
Wow.
And the Odeon is obviously that big chain cinema here. I think it's in the US, the Odeon?
Yeah,
actually, it might have even started in the US. I'm not sure. But that's the big chain over here as well, and that's just about managed to stay alive, sort of thing. But God knows what their debt is like now. But because like I said, they've been spending a large amount of money, but it's almost like they've been preparing for it. Though they've cut seats out of the cinemas. They've halved the number of seats, but they've made the seats amazing and really comfortable. It's almost like they saw ahead, sort of thing. We've got, okay, bums and seats isn't going to be the way to do it anymore. It is going to be the concessions, like you said, Stormy. They do really well out of over here. They do like a monthly thing. So I actually pay a direct debit monthly, and I get to go to the cinema. So as many times as I like, and it's a little bit more than a cinema ticket a month, but that goes every month, and they really push that as well. And I do wonder how many people pay that, like going to the gym. You know, you have your gym membership, and you've got your monthly membership, but you don't go.
You just don't go. Yeah,
it's funny you should
cancel it.
It's funny you should say that, because a lot of the cinemas down by my way are independents, or like very small chains where there's only like 4 or 5 of them. You know, real sort of smaller chains. But I think the probably the most successful one local to me, they basically built on a bar restaurant as like, you know, an aside to the cinema. Really great cinema as well. You know, great quality seats. You know, good sound, good screen. But what they've started doing is sort of make it like a night out. So they'll have like dine and movie, where it's like a special deal where you can come in, have like a proper meal, like an Italian food, and then go on. Or like, you know, you get drinks after. And they do the same direct debit system that you were discussing, Jay, so that you can, you know, go and see a set amount, and then you get a discount on concessions and things like that. So I think some of them are, and that's probably, I'd say, the most successful cinema locally, and it's because they've kind of diversified and tried to make it a little bit different. But it's like you said, you know, some of the other ones I know around here are struggling a bit. I mean, when I went to the cinema the other day, there was me and 5 other people, and it was just empty seats as far as the eyes could see. And I was thinking, geez, you know, think about the electricity bill here. You know, is this going to cut it? You know,
I saw Shang-Chi yesterday. I did a video on it and called it Shang-Li all the way through. Every single bloody time.
Oh,
That was painful when I was editing it and I realised.
Did you just do like an overdub every time?
Yeah, I know. I just had to put a comment on going, yes, I know. Bloody hell. Luckily, no one's watched it, so that's good.
Let's blame it. Let's just blame it on COVID.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm just such an idiot. I was going to like try to. So it's how the Chinese pronounce it. That's how they pronounce it, mate. That's like I didn't make a mistake. I'm just really like culturally.
Really was it busy when you went?
Yeah, I was going to say it was about half full. It was Saturday at 3:00 in the afternoon, and it was a good show. But like I say, our cinema has actually bounced back really well on the way out. The lobby area was pretty much full of people. It's a big multiplex, 10 screen sort of thing.
Wow.
But they've just had this massive refit about 6 months before COVID hit. They must have been so gutted when that happened. Like, oh, look at all this lovely investment we've done, sort of thing.
That'll pay for itself in no time.
Well, yeah, exactly. All right, so we've sort of said we don't think the cinema's going to go away. Do we think it's going to have to do like what we've said there, but it's going to have to become a night out then? So the ones that survive are going to be restaurants, things. They're going to be part of a multi, because I mean, our other cinema, the one in Cineworld, is actually part of. There's about 10 restaurants. It's off the town centre. There's lots of things. There's a little hotel there and everything else. But that's the one that's shut. But it's part of the night out experience, is my point. Those are the ones that are going to do okay. But do you think we're going to lose a lot of them? You're talking about those independent ones, Spence. Do you really think they're still going to be there in 5 years?
Ooh, I don't know. I think as long as people keep pushing to get stuff released in cinemas as opposed to direct to home, then there's always going to be something that you can't see without going out, So I suppose as long as people keep pushing that, I mean, if it does get to a point where every single major studio goes, screw it, we're going to release it simultaneously, I think that's when there'll be a problem. Because at that point, it's not like there is no other option other than to go to the cinema. So I think as long as there's that degree of separation, then it should be fine. But then who knows? I mean, obviously there's a lot of people that maybe wouldn't go to the cinema but would buy it if it was released at home. And I imagine that there's probably some corporate executive at the top of a lot of these companies going, "Ooh, it's an opportunity here,"
No, there'll be somebody doing math. It's expensive to release a cinema at the cinema, I should imagine, with advertising and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Disney Plus cheaply. Go on, sorry,
I think indie art house film houses will always be a thing. Mostly just in really metropolitan areas, though. I mean, like it is today. It's a specialty kind of thing. But I agree. It's going to have to, the environment. The theater environment is going to change greatly. I remember the best one I've ever been was the Kabuki Theater, owned by the Sundance in San Francisco. They had a Michelin chef preparing whatever you wanted with a wet bar, and they'd bring it to your seat. How spoiled! I got so spoiled, man. Every Sunday I was there. It was just wonderful.
Was the popcorn still stale, or was popcorn okay?
Oh, the popcorn was glorious. You could get it with all sorts of sprinkles and stuff. Did you want the garlic butter? Did you want some sort of truffles popcorn? Well, I was just in San Francisco. I mean, it is a Michelin chef, for God's sake, serving you, theater snacks. It was glorious.
Amazing. That is pretty good.
Expensive, but glorious.
Well, that's the key, isn't it? That's where they make the money.
Right.
I've took out a second mortgage. We're going to the cinema, baby. I do wonder though whether in 5 years I think we'll see a lot of cinemas close. because I just don't. I think just the money won't be there anymore. But I do think though that, like I say, Black Widow was released simultaneously. Shang-Chi wasn't. So
That's right.
was it just a blip? Was it just that Disney Plus thought, okay, we've waited over a year now. We've got to get this damn film out, and we're going to do a Disney Plus release at the same time because we want to push Disney Plus. And you know, people aren't going to the bloody cinema yet. It's a huge risk if we release it and it's a massive flop. You know, nobody because of COVID, people are scared. So is it just a blip? Was it just a one-off?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely an element of that. I think as well, though, in not in defense of Marvel or Disney, but obviously they've always got a really, really tight release structure planned. You know, they plan these things out way in. I mean, we've seen with, you know, Infinity War and Endgame, they plan these things out. And I know they ran into massive problems because not only were they struggling to film and get all of that done, but then when they were actually completing projects, they were just kind of like Black Widow, just sat there doing nothing, which meant that the next release was held up, which meant that the next release was held up. And if you look at their phase 3, I think we're in phase 3 now. Is that right? Or have we just finished phase 3?
Planned through to 5, though, haven't they? But
I mean, if you look at the original release window, they've moved it around so much. Stuff has come out before it should have, and things have switched orders and things. And when you think, you know, particularly with the Disney Plus shows, they're trying to tell this coherent story, which is planned, you know, in stages to come out. I'm sure there must have come a point where it was like, well, look, if we don't release Black Widow now, then we can't release Shang-Chi until this time. And then we're supposed to be releasing these shows. And that might not have as much context if we release that now. So we might have to push that back. And so I do think there might have been an element of creative push to get it out just so that the rest of the story could be told, maybe. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe Disney doesn't want to compete with itself in similar stories.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've also made the point there that you mentioned the TV shows as well, though, because a lot of the TV shows explain lots of what's coming in the movies. You know, this whole multiverse thing with the Marvel is going to be very strongly linked to Scarlet Witch TV show, and they must have been biting at the bit to get that. They've got Disney Plus is sat there. Initially, there wasn't a great deal of content on it. It wasn't. I don't think really it was until the Fox sale went through and they put the Star on there. And then all of a sudden they've got all the Star stuff on there as well.
It's packed now, yeah.
Now it's decent. Now it competes with Netflix. But at first, I had Netflix. I had Disney Plus, and we watched a few films on it in the first month, and then we didn't look at it for like 9 months. And I was paying for it the whole time. So, but then, you know, that hit, like I said, and then I'm just waiting for the Marvel TV series to start, and they just weren't. And the Disney executives must have been doing their nut. Come on, we've got this platform. Nobody's watching it. It's gonna collapse. And can you imagine that if Disney Plus had collapsed because just nobody was watching it because they're waiting on content?
They put so much stake into. I mean, obviously, The Mandalorian was like the first big thing, but they clearly put so much stake into these Marvel TV shows. I mean, you know, whatever you think about them, they're high budget affairs. You know, they look like a Marvel movie. You know, you know, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier looked like Civil War. You know, it was cinematic quality. So yeah, I mean that's another element of it, I guess, is that they kind of need to get.
I would say Scarlet Witch. Yeah, I would say Scarlet Witch even more. There was a lot of effects in Scarlet Witch, a lot more than Winter Soldier. I think it was a very heavy effects series, and it was just as good. I think Marvel have been doing that for a few years, though. I remember watching Daredevil, and I actually mentioned this in a video I haven't released yet. The first series of Daredevil on Netflix. There's a fight scene in it that he's walking down a corridor and he's going to save a young boy. If you've seen it, you'd remember it. It's phenomenal. And it was the first time I remember sitting there going, that's cinema standard. That's one of the greatest fight scenes. One of the greatest scenes I've ever seen.
The corridor one where people ended up getting kicked in and out of rooms a fair bit. Yeah. It was like one continuous shot. Yeah, that was
continuous shot all the way down.
It reminded me of Old Boy, the Korean film.
Yes.
Yeah, so you know that one-shot fight sequence in the corridor, but from the side. I got big vibes
It
off
was
of
that
that.
standard of it really reminiscent of like Hong Kong Golden Harvest type movies from back in the day. There's a lot of that with Shang-Chi, actually. I was watching a lot of Shang-Chi yesterday, and I was just thinking back to like all the classic Jackie Chan movies from back in the day when they were actually good. And and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon and stuff. And I was just thinking, oh, amazing.
House of Flying Daggers.
There's a fight scene in Shang-Chi actually that's very similar. That's on a bus, and that's pretty much one shot, but it's builds. There's one bad guy, then there's two. Then you realise that half the bus are actually waiting to kick his ass, sort of thing. And it's just phenomenally shot. But that shot in Daredevil blew me away. That was one of the first times I remember going, "Wow, that's cinema standard." And then they got shows like Game of Thrones and things like that, obviously, that then took that to another level again, where you're like, that's not TV anymore. We have to almost think of like something else. That's beyond anything we've seen on the television before. I'm watching it on my little crappy 50-inch TV going, I need a bigger telly. It's like, for the love of God, this is amazing.
Well, you guys keep using this term cinematic. Spencer started it first. Of course, I blame Spencer. And Jamie, you started it. But you keep referring to this, this film was so cinematic. You refer to, the state of what the emotional impact of watching something on a big screen. And, you started off with Scarlet Witch talking about how it was cinematic, and Winter Soldier and Falcon and Winter Soldier, how it was cinematic. I think filmmakers are getting to the point in terms of skill and talent that they are making things for the small screen and the big screen at the same time. And they're just making quality films that is emotionally impactful. Like I don't know if you remember back in the X-Files days, their production schedule, it was crazy because they were shooting everything as if it were a movie, even though it's an hour episode. They were shooting it as a major motion picture, and that's why it had such an eerie, emotionally impactful quality to it. And I think that's what cinematic means. You have that impact of the moving image, not necessarily if it's big screen, but I think Disney, and especially starting with Mandalorian, like Spencer suggested, really brings the cinema, the emotional impact of that big screen into whatever space you're looking at, whether it's on your desktop computer, your widescreen at home, your little iPhone, whatever. I think that's becoming a skill that filmmakers, the director of cinema or the director of photography, the director itself, the writers are all aiming for. And one note on Jackie Chan. Have you guys ever seen his movie 1911?
Yeah.
No.
Of course you have, Jamie?
I'm sure I have, yeah.
1911. It is not a kung fu movie. It is about the Chinese War of 1911. Jackie Chan's in it. He is excellent. If he just, this shows that he's a great, honest to God actor, and that he is being wasted on all these silly kung fu movies.
Like Tuxedo.
1911. I hardly recommend it. Great film. Great. And I saw it in one of those crazy little tiny independent theaters is in San Francisco on a Sunday while being fed greatly by a Michelin chef.
His third album is very good as well. I think his singing it really took a whole different level in the third album. And I'm joking, I've been listening, but he is actually one of the largest selling music artists in the world right now because people in China love him.
Right.
David Hasselhoff in Germany, number ones.
Yeah,
he's got more number ones in Germany. I'm sure he's got more number ones than Elton John or something. It's a ridiculous statistic, but anyway. So what do you think we're going to be like in 10 years then? Because obviously the streaming networks seem to be getting, and you'll have to tell us what it's like in America, Stormy, but we've basically got 3 big, maybe 4 if you count Sky. So we have Sky, who have Sky Cinema. They release movies every couple of years, and those movies are getting better quality as well. Their newest one's Karen Gillan from Guardians and Doctor Who. Obviously, Spence, you'll be a big fan of that. Amy Pond. Oh, God, she's so pretty. how an opening for a Doctor Who was that she's there in a naughty policeman's outfit, and that's how
Well,
we got introduced
with a fake English accent.
Yes.
Yeah, God, that was good. But anyway, she's in a gunpowder milkshake, and that is a big budget action movie, and it looks freaking awesome. But that's going to be on Sky Cinema and in the cinemas at the same time, released at the same time. And they've done that with quite a few of their films. But up till now, their films have been like straight to DVD movies. They've not been the greatest quality. But seems to be a turn that, this is again an actress top of the game who's on the up, becoming more and more popular, and it's a big action budget movie.
Well, they've got a few larger names in it, don't they?
Yeah. Exactly. Seems to be getting more and more. They seem to get more and more confident and more putting more and more money, don't they? So, and then obviously we've got the Netflix, and we've got Amazon Prime, and then Disney Plus. Yeah. We don't have HBO Max and things like that over here.
Hulu.
You don't have Hulu?
No. We have Disney Plus. So actually, we're really happy at the moment because Orville is now on Disney. So I'm really happy about that. Because I had to watch it on Fox on Sky on our satellite TV, and it was on at like 11 o'clock at night on a Wednesday or something. I kept forgetting to tape it, so I'm very happy it's on Disney Plus. But what is it like over there in America though, Stormy? What sort of cost is there? How many of these channels are there over there?
Oh man, well, I'm an absolute slut for streaming services.
Yeah, I can tell.
My big ones is like I've got HBO, I've got Paramount Plus because Star Trek, Disney Plus because of Star Wars and Marvel. I've got Hulu because I get it free because of the subscription I have for my phone. I've got a bunch of I've got Nebula and I've got Curiosity Channel, which are just educational. Huh? No.
It's definitely an adult channel, right?
Right. And today the antelope will be in mating season as we watch the antelope prance across the savannas of Africa. Yeah, that's probably not the one you're thinking. Yeah. But yeah, it seems like there's another one that pops up every day, and they're trying, and they always Apple Plus.
I forgot about Apple Plus. We've got that.
AMC.
I keep forgetting about it.
And I've got AMC because of Walking Dead, and all the other good content of AMC. It seems like when you have a new streaming service coming up, they always try to seed it with some really big tentpole sci-fi something or another, So this legion of fans will go out and buy it for a year just so they can watch it. But there's a surprising amount of free streaming services that pop up. Pluto TV is really good. I mean, it's older films that from the 80s, not older film, from the 80s, 90s, and the aughts. There's also a Minecraft channel on Pluto. Pluto is just kind of like live streaming, and it's mesmerizing. It's just nothing.
Where's the funding come from though? Is there adverts or something?
Yeah, it's advertising based. All of Classic Who, Doctor Who is on Pluto all the time.
See, over in the UK, we've got BritBox for all the Classic Who.
Yeah,
now it's not on demand. It's just whatever you just go and watch, and whatever's on that.
It's just like a TV channel then, but online.
Right. Right. It's just it's all programmed, right? And there's another one called Tubi, which is a lot of horror, I think. But yeah, there's a lot of those popping up that are really good content, but it's advertising supported, which is like most TV is, except that you don't have to subscribe, you don't have to give them your email address or your phone number, and then you just sign up, watch it, download and watch.
I think that's where our future's going. At the moment, I've got Sky TV, and I get most of my TV through a satellite. In 5 years, I'm sure they're going to come to us and just go, it's through your broadband now. You don't need the satellite dish anymore. We'll take it down. Sort of thing. And to be honest, I don't know why it is now. We could easily watch it through. I watch all my Netflix and everything, and then I switch over to my satellite dish. Why? Why don't they just stream it through? But Sky has Now TV as well, which is like their streaming version. I'm like, why are they still bothering getting Sky TV? I don't understand it. We're so far behind. It seems a bit slow, to be honest. But yeah, so you've got obviously a lot more than us, and I think the internet channel, which you're talking about there, I think that's something that we'll be seeing over here soon. I get something called a Roku channel because my
right.
I watch my thing through Roku. It's just the box, but I watch my internet and stuff through my smart box, like. And that's actually every so often something good will pop up on there. I'm like, oh bloody hell, Boston Legal's on. I'm watching Boston Legal. It's fantastic. But most of it's rubbish. But every so often, the new the little comedian Chris, what's his name? Chris Hart? No, it's not Chris Hart, is it?
It's Kevin Hart.
Kevin
or Chris
Hart.
Tucker.
Yeah, Kevin Hart. But the new Kevin Hart live show is on the Roku channel. It's not anywhere else.
Really?
And it's brand new. It's the brand new. It's his newest live show. And I was just like, that's not right, surely. But I watched it and I'm like, shit, is this from this year? That's from like 6 months ago. I'm like, brilliant. The one thing I was going to say though about the movies and the cinema releases, we're definitely seeing. You know, like back in the day, you'd had the cinema release 6 months later after it leaves the cinema. 6 months, then you'd get it on video or DVD, and then about a year after that, you'd get it on TV.
Yeah.
That link seems to have been broken now. That's not a thing anymore, is it really? Because nobody buys DVDs anymore. I keep buying the Marvel movies because I've got all of them and I want the set. So I keep buying Marvel DVDs. And the wife's just like, why? Why have you done that? And I'm like, because I want it.
Because they're cheap.
They are cheap. But it's going to be on Disney Plus within 6 months. It just is. I mean, Mulan was on, came out on Disney Plus, and I really wanted to watch that, the live action Mulan. I really thought it looked good. It came on, it was £20 for 8 weeks, and then it was free on Disney Plus. And I'm like, well, I'll just wait 8 weeks. And they actually told us how long it was going to be until it came on Disney Plus. It was like November 12th, it'll be on Disney Plus normal. I'm like, well, that's great. That's in a couple of, I'll just wait.
Did the same thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you think that's going to be the way it is then in the future? Which I think will be a death nail in the cinemas. Because if people know it's going to be on Disney Plus in a couple of months.
Well, for me, okay, so the reason I didn't plunk down immediately for Mulan was, my God, there's so much other crap on all these streaming services I've got. I might as well catch up with something else because I won't notice it until Disney Plus starts pimping it out for free. You know, I mean, I've got, oh my God, dude, it's just, I think at that point in time I was catching up on Schitt's Creek. You know, when Mulan was going to say, oh, let me just, binge watch all 5 seasons of that. And then by the time I'm done with that, then Mulan will be out. So even though these big blockbusters are getting scheduled into the streaming services, well, dude, I am so backed up. I mean, it took me 6 months just to go through and binge watch all of Star Trek. All of it was just an episode after it. So I see it as like, okay, yeah, that gets inserted into my queue here. Yeah. And it's like, oh, only 8 weeks. Oh, well, that's 40 episodes of Star Trek.
See, I'm similar, but what I do instead of sort of moving gaps around, because I subscribe to Netflix, sometimes Prime. At the moment, I've got Disney Plus. I also have BritBox sometimes. I have Shudder sometimes for horror movies. But what I tend to do is Shudder's a good one. But I tend to have like 1 or 2, and then I'll storm whatever's on that platform and go through it until I've cleared through that backlog, stop it, and then move to another one, and then go through that for a month or 2, and then like keep cycling through them. Because I'm not keen on paying multiple subscriptions if I'm not going to use them. But I think part of me wonders sometimes. Because do you remember there was the big, we had the issue with sort of Sky TV over here. I'm not sure if it was the same in the States, but part of the reason that torrenting became so big is that Sky became broken up into so many different packages, and people just frankly didn't want to have all of these different add-ons and packages. So torrenting became huge because people were almost being sort of locked off content by finance. And I feel at the moment, particularly with there being more and more and more different streaming platforms, all with their own exclusives. And, it used to be very much, you've got Netflix and Netflix has got everything. That's how it was when it came out.
Right.
Now, now, it's got 20% of stuff, but the other 80% is on, you know, maybe 5 or 6 different things. I'm wondering if maybe we'll see like a return to, or an alternative to torrenting or something become popular, because eventually people just get sick of paying for loads of different subscription services.
Because
maybe.
it's quite expensive. It's £10, you know, it's like, it's, I think, was it £12 now for Netflix? $11.99, I think.
Yeah.
Disney Plus is still cheap, much cheaper, but that's on purpose. That won't be forever. As soon as Disney Plus get enough subscribers, they'll start beefing up that cost. It's only like $7.99 or something at the moment. So I've got Apple TV because I've got an Apple phone, so it's free, but I keep forgetting I've got it. So I've got that Jason Momoa series where they're all blind. I really want to watch that. And I could. Yeah, exactly. I'm so blind. I keep
excellent,
forgetting I've got it.
excellent. See, is that I can't? Oh my God, it's great. Oh my God, I thought it was going to be total shit. Oh, blind people finding.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh dear heaven. Great show.
Will have ended by the time I get around to watching it. The only thing was, I watched. There's a Tom Hanks war movie, Greyhound, that was on Apple. And I love anything with Tom Hanks in. And it's
now that the Greyhound was supposed to go to the cinema.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
But
I can't remember if that was COVID or something else that caused it. But then Apple just paid for it.
Yeah.
So Apple gave them the money. Well, we'll have it. We'll put it on here, sort of thing. And they just paid a fortune to have it on their thing. They used it as their big advertisement when Apple Plus started. So, anyway, I'm with you though. I think at some point we're going to start seeing ripping again, because it's starting to get expensive. Now the only reason I say that, in my Sky TV, I'm not sure why I've got it. I think they've been geniuses there. It only costs about £25 a month for me to have Sky TV, but they've thrown in Netflix. So I get my Netflix as part of my Sky TV package. They've got a big deal with Netflix over here that all of their packages come with free Netflix. And that's not a deal. That's for now on, sort of thing. So I'm thinking, well, it's not 25 quid then, is it really, for my Sky TV? It's really 15 quid.
Yeah, because you're paying $12.99 or whatever for Netflix anyway.
Yeah, and then the wife prefers it because we can actually like record stuff, because she doesn't like going through Apple and the iPlayer and stuff to watch her EastEnders and things. She likes to record things and have them waiting for her, sort of thing. So I was like, okay, then we'll do that. So I think Sky have been very, very clever with that, and Netflix have been very, very clever with that as well, because it basically opens a completely new avenue for them. But my worry with this cinematic world is that well, I mentioned you, Stormy, before we started, the Oscars. Right. One of the things with the eligibility for the Oscars is you've got to be shown in so many cinemas for so long, sort of thing, or you're not eligible. And it's one of the reasons why, like Netflix, when they release a film, they'll just randomly put it on a bunch of like backwater cinemas just to do the eligibility.
Right.
Oh.
Will the death nail be when we see the Oscars change their rules? Like they did with the music industry about 5 years ago, when they suddenly said, to be number one, it's not about record sales anymore. We're going to include downloads and streaming. And then that's what's number one. And we saw this complete shift in the way the number one, the top 40 is now, that like Ed Sheeran can be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 in the top 10 for months, because it's actually a reflection of what people are listening to, though, rather than what people are actually buying. And the album chart is completely irrelevant now, basically. When we see the Oscars change the rules, do you think that is going to bad sign for the cinemas?
I don't know, because most of the Oscar rules are driven by studio pressures, at least here in the United States. There was a major rewrite of the Oscar rules, 2 years ago, because of all of the above the line slots were all white men, and it's like, because of just selection of material, a lot of black and other people of color were just shut out of the awards altogether, and that was a major rewrite. And the rewrite was caused by outrage of the studios. Studios said, "Look, we've got all of these wonderful films with black actors in it, black actresses, black filmmakers. Why in the hell haven't they, at least got a nomination?" Well, the nominations were expanded. the things that were allowed in that were previously pushed out were allowed in, and that was a major year, but that was pushed by the studios, and the studios like to have the opportunity to advertise their films as Oscar nominated actor, Oscar nominated film or Oscar winning film. This film got 17 Oscar nominations. They love that advertising, and if it's not for the bragging rights, no one cares about the Oscars. So I think at least in the United States, it's a lot of it is ad motivated. So whatever's going to motivate the people to go buy it, however the Oscars has to be as a marketing venue, that's how it'll change, I think.
So the rules will change at some point then.
Oh yeah.
What do you think, Spence?
Well, they've been getting less. Well, I mean, I'm not really I can't really comment because I'm not a big follower of the Oscars, but they have been losing viewership steadily, haven't they?
Yeah. Ticket sales.
All of the awards.
I mean, it does make one question, how, if they continue to shed views like that, then will that relevance maintain? Do you know what I mean? Will it continue to be a badge of honor if nobody's watching it?
Yeah, it's true. But are they very quickly becoming irrelevant? Yeah, because
maybe, yeah. I mean, I'm saying that completely biased because I'm not really into it. But I know some people who they make themselves food and tune in, and it's like a little bit of an event. But I mean, all I know about it is with a declining viewership, there has to come a point where it might matter to the industry, but if they're using it as a marketing tool and it doesn't matter to the layperson, then it loses impact.
I think
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go on. Stop.
I was going to say it's like the Cannes Film Festival. It's all glitz and glamour, and there's actors and actresses, and no one cares except the distributors that buy these films to put in their theaters or their streaming services or what. I mean, it's a market, just like the Sundance Film Festival is. Yeah. It's a market to get films into distribution.
I think there's the old-fashioned thing about the critics as well, and I think that's becoming irrelevant as well. When they would have these. Barry Norman was ours in the UK. Stormy, you won't know who that is, but you'd have these, the critics, and they would go out and watch the movies, and they would tell us what was any good and what was rubbish. But I think with the advent of YouTube, people don't listen to critics anymore. They listen to YouTube channels like Sidetrack. Subscribe and listen to what I tell you to do. Nice. Go look. Watch what I tell you to watch. But it seems to me that actually there's so much opinion out there now. There's things like maybe the Oscars are becoming less relevant, and professional critics are becoming less relevant because we've moved on. With
well,
YouTube,
it's
TikTok and
I think back in the day there was here in the United States we had Siskel and Ebert, Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, where they would generally, if they both agreed on a movie, I would probably like it. But now, things like Rotten Tomatoes, there's a lot more credibility in a Rotten Tomatoes rating than there even New York Times, the criticism page, no one cares. Well, what they say on Rotten Tomatoes? Let me go look. And they'll see a 99% rating or whatever. Let's go look at that. Or the, IMDb ratings or the
IMDb rating.
Those things are much more credible in the minds of viewers these days than anything that is written in traditional.
They've started showing them on the adverts, on the posters and things. They've started showing the Rotten Tomato and the IMDb rating.
Yeah, so
those are people's ratings, though. That's people voting, isn't it?
Exactly.
As well. So
exactly. So I guess it's more democratic, because not always times I agreed with Roger Ebert, or Gene Siskel.
I always thought a lot of critics were up their own asses, I have to admit. I've always worked in quite serious jobs. Always, my whole life. I've always worked very, quite serious jobs. So when I watch a movie, I want it to be stupid and ridiculous and stuff to blow up. And I don't want it to be, this is real and gritty. Well, I don't want that. That's enough. That's my day job. I don't really fancy that. I want to see Fast and Furious, and I want to see impossible car stuff. And that's what I like. It's I like it. I like brain off, popcorn, and just to have a laugh and to think. I was arguing with somebody about Stargate the other day, and I said on this channel that Stargate SGU was boring, and I didn't like it. So I've actually been watching SGU again, and I can confirm it's boring. But it's because they took all like the fun out of it, and that's why I liked SG1. It was, there was a bit of humor, there was a bit of thing. It was a bit silly. It was a bit, there was obviously brilliant storylines, but there was a bit of sarcasm and cheekiness and things. All that was sucked out of SGU. They were trying to be a bit serious. I like my TV and I like my cinema to be a bit like that. So if a film wins best Oscar, best movie at the Oscars sort of thing, I'm like, I ain't watching it. I know what's coming. I'm not watching it. So that is actually like, I will go through and check what's won the Oscars, and what's won best special effects, I'll watch that. But then whatever wins best movie, I ain't watching it.
I was always, for Stargate Universe, I was always trying to figure out, is who's going to get shanked first, Rush or Young, It was a conflict. It was not like, oh, we're all going to die because we haven't got to the star to fill up the tanks full of energy. No, is Rush the one that's going to get shanked? Or is Colonel Young? Colonel Young maybe deserves a shanking, but Rush, I know, deserves a shanking. So it's like that was the drama for me, is like, who's going to get the knife first?
Yeah. My opinion on Stargate SGU, by the way, is an unpopular opinion. And I've been corrected a great deal. But I watched the first 3 episodes recently, and I actually really enjoyed them. But by the 3rd episode, I'm already going, yeah, I can see where this is going. Good night.
Because no one got shanked. I mean, 3 episodes to Shank Rush. That's and then of course he has his math cave that no one knew about, and he takes everybody. Well, here's the formula. Blah, blah, blah. I do like Robert Carlyle as an actor. He's tremendous.
Robert Carlyle's a fantastic actor. The acting. The thing about SGU though, the acting phenomenal. The effects phenomenal, absolutely beautiful. But it's too limiting. They put themselves on a broken ship, and they're just like in the middle of nowhere. And I went, oh, it's a bit like Deep Space Nine, boring until the Defiant came into it.
The Millennium Falcon was also a broken ship. I just say.
I think you can have fun with broken ships, but it's about coming up with sort of relevant storylines that hook into it.
I don't know why Jamie's so against Millennium Falcon. I just don't know why he has that kind of hate in his heart.
Yeah, I have hate in my heart. I'm sorry. No, I didn't hate the show. I never hated the show. I thought it was a bit too slow for me. That's all.
No shanking. That's my
shanking.
I think
it was just too slow.
So
everyone that keeps going on at me about why I hate SGU, I don't hate SGU. It's just a bit slow. And SG1 is I'm going to say something very controversial here. I think SG1's better than Star Trek. I think it's better than all of the Star Trek. It's actually my favorite show.
Can you put my panel on the other side of Spencer so I can get far away from that opinion?
Sorry, but I love it. I love it. SG1 was my show. I mean, I think it's even better than the Next Generation. And Next Generation was like my first love. It was like that was my first crush at 13 years old. Star Trek Next Generation. I absolutely adore that channel.
So Spencer, I guess I'm going to be taking all the stray bullets that Mrs. Jamie for you. So safe.
Only if you don't like SG1. And I'm still a Trekkie. I still love Star Trek. I just think SG1 edges it just a little bit.
Hey, it's different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
Always say,
Exactly.
You got your Star Trek favorites, your Stargate favorites, your Babylon 5 favorites, everyone's got their own vibe.
Firefly favorites. Firefly's the best show ever made. It was a perfect TV show. I miss it so. But okay, I think we've got that covered, guys, and we're hitting the hour mark, which I think is a beautiful place to stop. But just really quickly, cinemas dead in the water, or are they just going to have to change?
I think if there's any one singular reason why they will always be cinemas, it'll be the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
You're going to have to make that connection for me. What?
The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I know what you mean. How's that
It's a
connected to
theater
stage?
experience. You know, no one's going to throw rice and toast in their own house at midnight on a Friday or Saturday. No one's going to have 100 kids running around in their underwear in their house.
Yeah.
So if there's any thing that's going to survive for cinemas, it'll be the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Because who wants to do the time warp by themselves? I ask.
My cinema emails me every week. So I've got that direct debit, and they say, "What film would you like to watch?" Predator. And they're like, "What film would you like to watch this week?" Put Predator on. And then I think, oh, anything else? Yeah, maybe Die Hard. But you mean I want to see like classic movies put on there. I've never seen Predator at the cinema. I really want to, and I would pay good money for it. And don't make a new Predator. I don't want to see a new Predator shit. I want to see Go to the Chopper at the cinema. And they didn't do it.
Can we take a hot minute to discuss new stuff coming up in the cinema?
Let's just have a quick Spence. What do you think on the final question, mate? Before, and then we will. Yeah. Well, let's talk about what we're excited about.
I mean, I would be sad to see the back of cinemas. I think, I mean, as long as like I said earlier, as long as directors keep pushing their artistic vision and keeping it off of streaming services, there will always be a need to go to the cinema. No matter, whether the amount of cinephiles out there go down or go up, whatever, there'll always be at least a reason there, that and Rocky Horror. But yeah, I mean, if the boundaries do continue to blur and, these studios keep releasing stuff more and more and more, yeah, it's going to be tough. There still will be cinemas, but will there be as many? I shudder to think.
Yeah. So come on, what are we looking forward to? We're coming up to the Christmas months. There's
right.
A few big films coming out.
Well, and this is a mishmash of stuff that is going to be cinema directed to the cinema, and some is going to be directed to the streams. Dune is coming up October 1 here in the United States. Matrix 4 was announced.
Oh, that looks good as well. I actually I did put the advert on the channel. The video looks so good.
The sequel to Blade Runner 2049 was greenlit this last week. Not sure when it's coming out, but there's another one coming our way. Don't know who's going to be in it.
I haven't watched 2049, so
Avatar 20 is the next Avatar is coming out next year, early, I think. In terms of
6 of them, though.
Yeah.
5 of them, haven't they?
These mysterious Avatar films that have been being worked on for years and years, and we haven't seen the light of day yet.
Yeah, Avatar 2 and 3 is in post-production. Avatar 4 and 5 is currently filming.
Wow.
The Foundation series is coming to Apple TV.
Right, so what is the Foundation series? Because me and Spencer both went, don't know what you're talking about.
You can't. You got to be kidding.
No, I'm really not joking.
Okay,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Back in the 40s, 1942, I think it was, Isaac Asimov wrote a book called The Foundation. And The Foundation is it was a story about this mathematician, philosopher that could predict how the future of civilization was going to collapse. And so he rigged events in such a way that it collapsed his way. It could, he came up with a formula to steer civilization through the least violent and least amount of suffering. Okay. And it spawned 5 books. Foundation, along with iRobot, was some of Isaac Asimov's most popular stuff. And it's coming to Apple TV. Oh, thank God, next week. Excuse me.
I might have to go check my Apple TV.
Apple TV. That's right. Right. And I would say that concerning football, as you guys call it, I started watching. I started watching a Dan Lasso on Apple Plus. And I think it makes a lot of Americans fall in love with soccer. Excuse me, football. Yeah,
I think I love that show. I've been watching that. I do like that show. One film you didn't mention that's coming out at Christmas. Obviously, we've got Top Gun 2, which I think will be very good and less. I imagine there'll be less oiled up netball games. But other
You
than
never
that,
know, though.
you never know. Is the Eternals movie?
Yeah,
The new Marvel
Yes.
movie, which really is going to be kickstarting the next, the next phase. And I honestly watched Shang-Chi yesterday. Got to watch it, guys. It's a phenomenal movie. It's really, really good. It's got everything classic about Marvel. It follows the formula that they always follow. But then it's got some really amazing martial arts in it, really amazing special effects. Phenomenal movie. And Michelle Yeoh's in it, and she's phenomenal in everything, and absolutely stunning. And the way she moves for a grandma, goddamn, she's sexy. But I'm from Star Trek Discovery, so I love her too for that. But I think the Eternals movie is looking really exciting. I'm really, really looking forward to that. So, unless there's anything else you guys want to add,
Strange New Worlds coming up.
Strange New Worlds on Netflix.
The new Hawkeye series coming up.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's gonna be good.
There is a lot of really good shows coming up on all the streaming services and the theaters in this next year.
Most definitely. There's a couple of good Netflix films coming out actually as well. They have Old Guard 2 is going to be in production in the new year. There's there's another film that's coming out soon. I really like the look of it, and I forgot what it was. So we'll move on. But yeah, I think they tend to have one big film Netflix at Christmas sort of time, don't they? And I can't remember what it is.
Last thing I want to pitch is the Wheel of Time coming from Amazon Prime.
Yes.
It's going to be excellent. Yes. Of course, there's the new Tolkien trilogies coming out also from Amazon.
That series must cost a fortune. We're talking about quality and production cost.
Oh God! What was it? Just the rights cost $250 million or something like that.
Yeah,
it was insane. Of course, I'm going to watch it, but
I mean, he can afford it. Bezos can afford it.
Yeah.
That's just basically one penis rocket to him.
That's just one penis rocket. That's right. Yeah. So penis rocket, the Silmarillion on film. I'll go with Silmarillion on film.
Have you seen that meme that was Bezos and Dr. Evil next to each other? Anyway, both bald, both want to take over the world, both built massive penis rockets.
Oh, and one more thing we got to mention in terms of movies coming, the new James Bond, Daniel Craig.
It's going to be the longest James Bond movie.
Is it really?
Released.
Wow.
Yeah, it's got the longest cinematic run and runtime. And that is phenomenal to me because a lot of James Bond films feel really long. It's like I really like Casino Royale because it wasn't really long. I'm going to be controversial again though. I'm not a big fan of James Bond movies.
I think Daniel Craig is probably my favorite James Bond because it was more grittier. It was less flashier, space tech. I mean, Moonraker, really. I mean, I like Jaws flying in space. No, I'm sorry.
Roger Moore, though, he was a cheeky James Bond. That's
cheeky.
why I quite liked him.
Yeah, it seemed more.
I like Timothy Dalton personally.
Who?
Timothy Dalton.
Timothy Dalton, yeah. License to Kill, mate.
Good actor.
License to Kill was good.
Really good film.
I think I know a good restaurant in Karachi.
Yeah. For me, the first film with the new Bond is always the best one. GoldenEye, best James Bond film. Casino Royale is the best one of all of them for me, or the most enjoyable anyway. The first one always seems to be the best one. The first one and the last one, and then they always seem to get a bit wobbly in between. But Spectre was good. It was just a bit drawn out. I just felt it was a bit. You could go and make yourself a cup of tea and come back. You wouldn't have missed anything.
I found that with Quantum of Solace, to be honest.
Quantum of Solace was stupid, actually.
Yeah.
And that felt like an old-fashioned Bond movie to me. Do you remember the bit where they've got that? It's an observatory or something up in the Andes, and that's where they filmed it. And it blew up at the end, and it looked like they'd blown up a model. And it was like, am I watching a 1990s James Bond film? What the hell?
The premise I understand. It's like water. I mean, here in California,
clever premise and probably true as well.
Oh yeah, here in California, it's bad, man. I mean, it is really bad. And right now, the Sequoia National Forest, the home to the world's biggest trees, it's on fire today because of our drought. It is bad. And so I get, and there's companies here in California that is buying up water rights like crazy. Now, one company, they sell primarily pistachios, but the farmland, they really buy it for the water rights, not necessarily for the pistachios. They sell the pistachios to earn money to buy more water rights here in California. And it's so I get Quantum of Solace, I understand the acting and the.
No, I thought it was actually one of the most interesting plots. It was just a bad film.
Yeah.
How long do you think it's going to be till we have to build a pipe work from Scotland, across Greenland to California, across Canada to California, so you can have some of our water, because we've got loads.
Our ice pack is gone.
Yeah. We've got more water. We know what to do with. We can shake a stick at it. It's rained all day today. I remember we were chatting the one storm, and you were saying about how the storm's fire, and I was looking out the window going, it hasn't stopped raining for 3 weeks.
God.
In summer, it was like July, just rained.
Yeah, I mean, I did a little film on Cyworks. The myth of raking California. Someone suggested, the president Trump suggested, the only thing we got to do to fix the fire problem in California is rake the forest. Well, most of California is desert, and the desert's on fire too. It's not raking the forest. It's lack of water and climate change, unfortunately.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's a really interesting debate. And
thank you for having me.
Topic over the next few years we're going to have to deal with. The changing way we watch our TV and watch our media is and it's going to keep changing. And us old farts, not you, Spencer, us old farts like me and Stormy are still trying to figure it out. But I feel like Stormy's a little smarter on the media than me. I still can't quite figure out how WhatsApp works, so I think I'm in trouble. And I've got a YouTube channel that I have no idea how it works. So I'm a bit of an old fart when it comes to these things. But no, seriously, guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Very well.
Say goodbye, Stormy.
Goodbye, Stormy.
Spence. Say, bye, Spence. I'm a knobhead, Spence.
Huh?
Say, I'm a knobhead, Spence.
No, I'm all good. I'm all good.
Okay. Do you know the main thing about this? It's our second live stream, and Spence is still able to sit in his chair. So we're all good.
I know. I had a big cup of coffee instead of a big glass of wine.
2 streams in a row.
I know.
Do you get a tip after this or something?
Yeah, I'm going to send him a click and send him a chip.
I've started sweating already.
Good night, guys. See you soon.
Cheers.
Good night.
Bye.